I'd like to begin by acknowledging that I'm on the stolen lands of the Wurundjeri people. I'd like to pay my respects to elders past and present and acknowledge that sovereignty has never been ceded. In this lecture, we introduce some key terms relevant to a discussion of social justice. What is social justice? There are 5 aspects of this concept that we will be exploring in this brief lecture. Our discussion will be largely theoretical, though I strongly encourage you to apply these concepts, perhaps breaches of these concepts, in the completion of your Closing the Gap assessment task. So let's begin working through each in kind. Dignity of the human person. What is meant by dignity of the person as a cornerstone of this concept of social justice? It means recognizing the inherent dignity of people as human beings, dignity that doesn't shift or change based on the social categories that we've constructed as a society. So it doesn't change based on your gender, your race, your age, or your sexuality. It also means recognizing that poverty, oppression, and injustice make it impossible to live a life with dignity. When we rank people by dignity, we remove the hierarchizing of individuals. Rather, we see everyone as equal and equally deserving of dignity, rights, and respect. What do we mean when we say social justice means preferential options for the poor? It means that we are focusing our lens on people in or on the margins. When we adopt a social justice lens, we are looking directly at people who are poor, vulnerable, excluded, or erased. As suggested on screen, a basic litmus test of our morality is to ask, okay, how are our most vulnerable members faring? And based on our previous discussions of, for example, the health of Aboriginal Australians or the health of trans and gender diverse people, there are significant disparities and inequities. There is a lot of content for us to explore and to shift when it comes to a social justice approach to health and health promotion. Okay, a new word for some, subsidiarity and participation. Let's start with the latter. Social justice requires participation in the decisions that affect people's lives and people's health. Subsidiarity goes one step further and argues that it is the people closest to the decisions, those most affected by the issues, that should be consulted and participate in the decision-making process. So let's see this in a picture form. What this image is really bringing home is the necessity of bringing people on the lawn up to where the decisions are being made. This idea of equitable voice, especially when decisions impact the people who are excluded. The 4th principle of social justice is the common good principle. And let's look at this by way of an image. The common good is a concept that encourages this thinking at a universal or superordinate level. The common good can only be achieved when we are balancing the individual rights, needs, and priorities of people with the needs of people who have less choice or less autonomy. Only when we strike this balance and are operating with this goal in mind will true community be achieved. Solidarity. The final pillar of social justice is solidarity. Solidarity, I would argue, conceptually overlaps with the idea of the common good. Solidarity demands that we are operating as one. It means that we need to evidence preferential care to the poor and the vulnerable, to promote their development and access, and to reduce divisions between rich and poor. On screen here are some examples of social injustice as perpetrated by a society. Examples include when unfairness is tolerated or regarded as necessary, when our spending habits keep others enslaved, and by others this may mean people not in your country, when law or policy victimizes the marginalized, which we see very often in the context of transgender rights, when community attitudes stop people from receiving the support and assistance they need, for example, community attitudes regarding race or another stigmatized identity. I see a quiz question here. This is a good slide to bookmark. Social justice can be all of these things on screen. The pursuit of justice for someone else's sake, even if we don't benefit from it, and even if it involves a personal sacrifice. This final slide brings this discussion, which has been quite theoretical, to a practical conclusion. In the context of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, social justice involves recognising the distinctive rights the Indigenous Australians hold as the original peoples of the land, the right to a distinct culture, the right to self-determination, and the right to land. If you find yourself arguing for this in your essay, which I hope that you will, then I encourage you to frame it within a social justice lens. This might assist you in finding more articles for your upcoming major assessment task also. This concludes our mostly theoretical ponderings on social justice, what it is and what it is comprised of. I look forward to seeing you in class.